The global derivatives market alone sits at over $1 quadrillion in notional value. The infrastructure layer that would power even a fractional percentage of that settlement is exactly what the Clarity Act is building a regulatory home for. When you look at the full architecture, from the $50 wire transfer at the bottom to the quadrillion-dollar derivatives market at the top, this is not a niche technology story. This is the replumbing of the entire global financial system. And the entities that understand this are not waiting for the legislation to pass before they position. That is what you need to understand about where we are right now. Here is what smart money is actually doing while retail watches the price. The DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, processes the settlement backbone for the majority of U.S. securities transactions. Over $2 quadrillion in securities annually flows through this entity. And they have publicly announced exploration of blockchain-based settlement infrastructure. This is not a startup. This is not a crypto-native company. This is the existing financial system acknowledging that the rails it is running on are obsolete. At the same time, Brad Garlinghouse took the stage at Consensus and said explicitly that he is bullish on crypto broadly, that there are so many things across the industry lining up right now. And he named regulation, stablecoins, and institutional adoption as the convergence that cannot be ignored. Here is what Garlinghouse actually said. And here is the thing he did not say that matters more. He said the economy is 24/7, 365 days a year, but our payment infrastructure is not. And stablecoins are 24/7, 365. What he did not say out loud, but what every institutional listener in that room understood, is that the network powering the settlement layer for those 24/7 stablecoin flows is not being built from scratch. It already exists. And it already has a regulatory case history, partnerships with financial institutions, and an ISO 2022 compliance designation. If you hold 1,000 XRP today, 5,000 XRP, or 10,000 XRP, the question is not whether this infrastructure is being adopted. It clearly is. The question is whether you understand that the institutions are not waiting for you to figure it out before they get fully positioned. Retail waits for the headline. Smart money owns the position before the headline exists. And here is what changes that calculus completely, because there is now a specific date on the calendar that did not exist 60 days ago. Before I give you that date, I genuinely want to know where you stand right now. Are you still accumulating, or are you waiting for clarity to pass before you make your next move? Drop it below. One word, yes or no. I read every single one. Now let's talk about the date. Senator Bernie Moreno went on record, publicly, by name, with a specific deadline, and stated that they are going to mark up the Bitcoin and crypto market structure legislation, get it on the president's desk before the end of June, and have it signed into law before July 4th. Not a vague legislative timeline, not, we hope to move forward on this. A senator's name on a date on a presidential signature. And that statement is not standing alone. Polymarket's probability on the Clarity Act has surged to 68%. Crypto-native equities have moved sharply in the same window. The Digital Chamber of Commerce has publicly stated that this year will dictate what the next 30 years look like for U.S. crypto leadership. Senator Gillibrand laid out the framework specifically: CFTC jurisdiction for network tokens as digital commodities, SEC authority for disclosures, both regulators functioning within the same legislative structure. She described it as a piece of legislation of first impression, one built specifically for this industry's actual function, not retrofitted from securities law that was written before the internet existed. The convergence of all these voices, all these timelines, and all this institutional positioning is pointing at one window. And the question every XRP holder watching this needs to honestly answer is this deadline actually different, or are we walking into another stall? Here is what is structurally different this time, and I want to be careful here because I am not in the business of manufacturing false urgency. The Genius Act, which Clarity is explicitly modeled after in terms of legislative process, was signed into law in July of last year. The exact same pattern is now playing out for Clarity: multi-senator alignment, specific timeline language, institutional lobby pressure meeting congressional pushback. When congressional members responded to the banking lobby's opposition by saying, "We agree to disagree and we are pushing this forward anyway," that is the signal that the resistance has hit its ceiling. Polymarket does not reach 68% on speculation. That number reflects real financial stakes from participants who are tracking internal legislative signals, not just public statements. And the crypto-native equities that have been moving sharply higher are less manipulable than spot crypto markets, meaning when those move in the same direction as Polymarket, as institutional positioning, as the public statements of multiple named senators, the probability vector is not ambiguous.